So, welcome to the next episode of the Startup Success video series that we're doing here at Fahy Media. Join us as we welcome Robert Forbes, the dynamic force behind Forbes Boyle Property, to our little video series. As the owner and driving spirit of Forbes Boyle since 2005, Robert has navigated the estate's evolution with a clear vision, understanding that at the core of property business, it's the human connection that matters the most. With an innovative approach to sales, lettings, management and valuations, Robert's leadership has seen the company adapt and thrive through technological advancements and market shifts, all with a focus on the people behind the transactions. Beyond property, Robert's passion extends to nurturing potential through his roles in sport, coaching and development, showcasing his commitment to excellence and community. Today, he's here to share his journey, insights and the transformative trends shaping the world of estate agents. Robert, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So we have a little bit of a format here. We have some kind of predetermined questions, but at the same time, hopefully we can let it roll a little bit and have a bit of a free-form conversation. So if we end up going into something that's outside of my predetermined questions, we won't worry too much about that either. So let's, I guess, start at the start as we would. So can you give us a little bit of an insight as to what inspired you to start the business and how you took that inspiration into action?
Well, I certainly inspired me to start the business. I kind of dragged into the business. I kind of tell a story where I was in college and my mother, being a good Irish mammy, didn't want to see me idling and laying about. She was in property and had been a bit of the driving force behind growing it. So decided I was going to get off my backside and get out and do a little bit of dropping of leaflets, earn a few quid and make good of myself. So yeah, that was really it. And I had to be at a decent time, so it was that whole property bubble leading into Celtic Tiger era. And as a result, business grew. Before I knew it, I was helping show houses and then become sort of, perpetual motion after that, really. I had done marketing in college and had no idea where I was going or what I wanted to do, and this seemed just fine. So that was really the embryonic stages. Further that then, she retired, they retired, opportunity came to buy into a business, taking on my own direction, which I did gleefully with naivety, ignorance, stupidity, and very confident. And there's nothing that dents your confidence like a good global recession. So having moved the business on with a daring do, suddenly I was rocked on my heels and learned more about myself and the business than I ever wanted to.
There's a lot of that. I don't know how purposeful it was from your side. Certainly wasn't from my side, but there's always a lot of kind of success stories you hear that were born out of downturns. I remember when I started this business, it was right at the start of COVID, and I had handed in my notice to the previous job before we were told what COVID was and what was happening and everything. So I remember speaking to a few kind of people I knew who were already business owners, entrepreneurs, while I was really panicking about, okay, well, this is going to be a big downturn now. Is this not the absolute worst time to do what I'm trying to do? And a lot of what I heard, possibly similar to what you're kind of saying here as well, is that some of the business successes start during that time. It's when maybe other businesses are being sold off, where the market's reevaluating itself, where maybe the industry is trying to pick up where it needs to go to kind of move forward at this tougher time. And arguably, as somebody then starting in the industry, you're in a prime position to take the newest angles and kind of work the hardest to kind of secure that business. Is that like something you think you could reflect on?
Yeah, well, so personally, it was a learning journey. By the time we'd been shaken up quite well, it had become quite a small operation, and that was down to the fact that we didn't have an awful lot of diversity of what we did. We were a sales-only business, and I guess that's a huge lesson looking back, probably the biggest lesson to take out of it, which hopefully we've rectified and continue to try and do so. So that was a major moment, and it didn't change overnight. It wasn't like we were accelerating out the blocks. Once we realized, you've got to figure out the different areas and then start moving towards it. But again, looking even outside my own front yard, Yeah, there's other friends of other businesses within even the same sphere, not far from us, who I saw made moves around that time, saw an opportunity, things were down, and moved, and have had great success out of it. So there's no doubt in those moments, a lot can be born out of it.
So I guess for the moment, sticking on the more challenging aspects of the business, particularly in those early years, I guess, whether it's sort of the recession, something particular part of it, or something completely unrelated, during those early years, was there a particular challenge that you remember that kind of sticks out that you had to overcome to, I guess, get to where you are now?
So we're talking about, excuse me, just to clarify, we're talking about sort of post-recession or anywhere?
Yes, I guess really in your early years, so maybe the first 5 years of kind of your ownership of the business.
Yeah, you probably, when the business is walking in the door, there's an awful lot to think about, and you probably try to do the best you can. You're feeling pretty good about yourself. It is when another angle comes of some people that have been COVID, the recession, etc., and you got to see that the market has changed. It could be technological advances. Definitely over that time for me was the fact that it was so residential sales orientated, the business, and I didn't see a problem with that until there was a problem with that. And that's a big learning curve. You got to kind of reskill yourself. You got to retool yourself. You got to figure out what other sides of the business are like, lettings management, all of those other bits and pieces. But if they're not your expertise at that time, you've got to throw your soul into it and try and build up not only the skills to do it, but the network and the opportunity to do it, because that's the hardest thing. You can do it, but nobody comes and gives you a lesson and says, right, okay, well, here's a 1-year ticket to success. You got to figure out what that looks like, and you're going to screw up a lot of times. I don't mean necessarily with clients, but you got to go bark up a whole pot of wrong trees, thinking that's where you're going to get business from. So that's the hardest learner. Getting the business, putting the opportunity in front of yourself, and it's something we continue to learn. I wouldn't say I could write the book on it, but definitely I'm a lot further down the line than what I would have been at that time. So that's I guess, a business growth. That's a big issue. Other big challenge that I suppose post-recession, and biggest challenge for any business, and particularly the nature of ours, is cash flow. That was again huge learning moment. It sounds naive as hell. I look back at myself and I wonder, what were you thinking? But I look back at it now, and when you realize with the best intents in the world, if you don't have basic cash flow, you're no matter how much potential pipeline, all that you have, if you don't have cash flow, you're in a bad place. So, business basics.
I know it came up during last week's conversation as well, but it's all well and good talking about these nice things like the startup journey and kind of networking and kind of figuring things out. But in the end, whether it's at the start of your journey or today, revenue is king and cash flow, as you said, is king. If I could ask you a bit about, so you mentioned a little bit earlier that you did marketing in college. So maybe a little bit of similar, but a little bit of a flip between us. I didn't do marketing in college. I did psychology in college. And I certainly think that, even though I am not a psychologist at the moment, that education in psychology helped me a lot in marketing, whether it be kind of helping to understand kind of the mindset of the consumer, or all just in dealing with clients and kind of relationships and all those kind of things.
Is this where the podcast goes like to the left now and I find you're going to analyze me? Yeah, it was a setup all along.
This, we're not even recording. But I guess, particularly during those challenges in early years, but I'm sure potentially applies right through your career. As I said, I find a lot of benefit in that psychology education in my marketing, but have you found benefit in your marketing education in the real estate business?
Yeah, I think so, I suppose. But it's one of those things for me, if you're not practicing something, you can fall away from it quite quickly. Yeah, a lot of the stuff we did was, basic principles of, but it still doesn't give you the direct give wrapped answers. Do this, do this, do this. And as you know, marketing is such a hard thing to quantify because it's about consistency, it's about regularity, you know, and you have to, you know, stick with it for a while and then measure it. Did that work? You know, what were the responses to it? And you have to have a system for measuring it. So there's an awful lot that goes into that pot. And I suppose to rewind back to where I was, if cash flow is an issue, you don't really have the luxury to be, well, certainly as a smaller, medium kind of sized business, you don't have the luxury to go, okay, well, we're going to hit, you know, 3 months of bus shelters and then we're going to do 14 TV segments, and you just don't have that. So you're really going with what you can do in a marketing sense and trying to get a read from that. So I suppose you're trying to apply your marketing principles that you understand, but with your hands a little bit tied behind your back. So I don't know if that's a direct answer, but in principle it could be. It used to come when we've a marketing budget of big numbers.
Yeah.
Hobby and genius.
Whatever the magic number will be today versus whatever will be then as well.
Yeah.
Look, I could sideline the whole conversation on marketing. I'm going to try to not do that. But okay, so to move on a little bit, can I ask you then a little bit about, obviously a big part about running a business and running a successful business, certainly in the long term, there is going to be a certain amount of risk taking involved.
Yeah.
Can you speak to me at all about your approach to risk taking, how you manage it, how you quantify it?
So risk in terms of your direction, let me just put a point on the question a little bit. Do you mean just risk across the board in anything you do, or do you mean risk in what direction you're taking the business, or is it just another?
Well, the risk in that larger business sense of, you know, whether it be hiring more people in the hopes of then securing the future work down the line to securely pay them, whether it be testing out new ventures, like, for example, I know you're doing ventures in the Algarve at the moment. So I guess that kind of thing.
Yeah, I suppose it ties into what I was saying about having different strategies of the business. So that's a big side of me. And if we look at that under the heading of risk, you know, I would probably be risk positive. I'm really always looking to try and find ways that we can grow, as in insulate ourselves against what might be down the road by having different revenue streams or opportunities. Because it can be, you know, it can be funny. You push a door and sometimes it can open an awful lot faster or bigger than what you were expecting. And it's something I'd be all about. If there's an opportunity there or you want to have a look at it, you know, I wouldn't want to leave it wandering. And yeah, I mean, as recently as yesterday, I was talking to a couple of good fellas about a new opportunity within the property realm, and I'll never stop doing that. So I'd be very positively inclined towards looking at risk, but, you know, on a more micro level, into what you're saying, everything's a risk though, isn't it? I mean, you know, you can go draw 10 grand on leaflet campaigns, and either because they go at the wrong time or the leaflet was crap or everyone's just sick of leaflets, you haven't realised it, it doesn't really work, or you can, you know, take on somebody, or any of those kind of things have a risk element. But in terms of business direction, I suppose it's measured risk. You know, I'm hoping to try something out, but, you know, you don't want to just put everything on black, do you?
Yeah. I'm sure at stage where you're at, a little bit further ahead of myself, you have staff under you now as well. You not only have your own paycheck at the end of the month worried about, you also have the paycheck of others in the room. Like, as the business has grown, do you find that, like, I guess speaking from my perspective, that's something that I think I would and will worry about as my own business grows. Is that something that kind of will weigh on or affect your kind of risk averseness?
Staff's a huge part of it. it's, looking across the room, as you say, it's other people that you're going into business with every day. As you kind of mentioned earlier, I have a sporting background, so being part of a team is huge for me. That's kind of lights my fire a lot more than, plowing a solo furrow by myself. I like being part of a group with a goal and championing each other and celebrating success together. But at the end of the day, if you're looking at a team, everyone has to have a role. It's got to make sense.
Yeah.
And that's a tough part. You always want it all to work, and you've got to make sure that you've got the right people around you and the right ethos in the room, and then it's right for them, which is equally important. It's not just that it's right for you; it's got to be right for them as well, and then it's got to make sense financially too. We take on 10 negotiators. It's not America, so we can't take anyone in a commission only. It doesn't work that way. Be a great luxury, but if you're going to take on somebody, you've got to be very confident they're going to add something to the business. They're going to be a good fit with the business. So again, always something we're looking to do, but figuring out what way is best for the business going forward is going to determine what makes sense for us.
Okay, so maybe wandering into a slightly different realm, something that we have some familiarity on. We've done some business networking together. We've both been part of the BNI chapter together. I certainly have found a lot of benefits in business networking over the time. Can you tell me a little bit, I guess, from your perspective, how kind of networking has fed your approach to business, how it's kind of benefited or contributed to your business over the years?
Yeah, be delighted to. It's probably a natural segue from what I was saying about team. Yeah. I've been in a variety of business networking opportunities. Some are great, some aren't so great, and some different chapters or groups or whatever way you want to frame it. But it's that same thing. It's about putting a team about yourself, and you could go into one chapter and there'll only be 10 people there, but they're all go-getters and they fit neatly with what you want to do, where you want to go, where they can connect in with you. It's fantastic. Equally, if you go to a room and I'm in property but there's no compatible businesses, you can be trouble. So it's something I'm a big fan of. Definitely we did a great exercise recently, looked at our numbers over the last year, and again, to go back to a previous part of our conversation, and we looked at in terms of return on investment, if you compare it to flyers, which I kind of hate, we do a bit, but I wish the flyer era would go. Yeah. We do quite a bit on social media, and we're trying to hit that marketing mix as you go to grow our profile and attract more business. But nothing delivered return on investment like business networking.
Yeah,
nothing. And I guess I'm lucky. We were lucky to be in a very productive group of people. But even within that, you could go in a room with 30 people. If you could find 2 or 3 people there who will be part of your team and grow with you, it's worth its weight in gold. I mean, I've been involved in networking in the past, and I'd be lucky enough to be still have very strong connections, business and friendship, with people who are in those, and those relationships, those connections forged to them are worth their weight in gold. So it's a huge thing.
Okay, so while we're talking about networking, something I'd like to ask you about is, I know that different business owners I talk to kind of take the kind of importance of, say, accountability in networking differently. So for some, I have a funny feeling you were in this camp, that accountability is everything to do with networking. If there isn't some kind of sheet or record of who is doing what and who is actually going out and doing the work and meeting with other members or bringing business, then networking doesn't have a lot of value. I'm not saying that's completely how you feel, but maybe that you might be more in this camp than Then there's other business owners who like the networking aspect of it. They like having that team, as you've kind of said, having that team built around them, somebody, you know, knowing that there's a few people they can turn to if they have a problem or if there's a question they can ask, but are thrown off by what might be a more BNI-centered approach that we are used to, where it is very accountability-driven. It's about bringing figures every week. It's about reporting what you've done. And I guess my question then is, one, I think I know which one you're in, but what camp do you find yourself more in? Do you like heavy accountability? Do you like something that's a little bit more relaxed? And while there are business owners who might be the other camp to yourself, do you think there's place for both of them, or do you think intrinsically one type of networking is more valuable than the other?
Well, accountability is a funny word, you know, and I probably wouldn't make that the deal breaker either way. And what I mean by that, I would contrast accountability with that kind of business support feel that people might get in another group. You know, I think success at anything is built on accountability. I mean, we all getting our ass out of bed, getting to work in the morning is personal accountability. You know, you get in there and you have 10 calls to make, and you make 5 or you make 15. That's accountability. And so it doesn't have to be under a BNI heading or a networking heading or anything. For me, because I come from a team background, I suppose the column you'd expect me in would be the accountability side, and it's definitely something that works for me. It's something I'm quite used to. So, you know, I say I'm going to deliver X, Y, and Z, and you do your best to do that, and you're measured for doing it. And you don't always, but I kind of, from being in a team mentality, I don't really have a problem with somebody saying, well, you know, you're supposed to do 10 calls before lunch and you did 5.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that. I think, and this is where maybe the contrast comes in, if you're perhaps in a business on your own where you've just come through a different path in life, accountability is not really what people are feeling, because their accountability themselves, if they're on a networking group at all, you know, on the team of networking, but if they're a networking group at all, they're accountable to something, to themselves, to their business. They would be there if they weren't. But what they're feeling is, you know, a pressure to perform within a certain space. And you know, that's where I guess it does come down to a personal preference on how you like your business or your environment to work. You know, some people want to go to a gym where there's somebody yelling at you.
yeah.
How about you a friend who does that? He friends in fact at the gym. And if you want to go be yelled at, they'll yell at you all day and all night. And then some other people want to come, they just want to work out in the corner and not be bothered, and, you know, do their program. There's nothing wrong with either one of those. They're both up and active and at the gym. So I don't know necessarily that I would put them under accountability, because I think in every example, people are being accountable to something. I just think that it's like anything. You know, an old friend say, you know, everybody's a lock, usually in a different key. What's your key?
I genuinely really like that gym analogy of some people need people shouting at them, some people like to be left alone in the corner with their headphones on, and ultimately they're both at the gym. So they're both at training groups. Some people, you know, don't, they like train a pair or whatever. So exactly every single one of them's fine. And you can turn around equally and you can say, well, God, this group over here, they got fitter faster than you, or they got, you know, bigger muscles. If that's what you see, as success from the gym quitter, that's fine. But the other group, you know, the fact that they've somewhere to go, people to connect with, people to talk through business, if they pick up a referral or two out of it, that might be just honky-dory, you know. But it's like anything. We go back to the team concept. It's getting the balance of those right. If you're in a heavily driven mindset where people are excited about being challenged and pushed, well, then that's going to fly, isn't it? You know, if you're in something else that's operates differently, you're going to have the harmony. Where the disharmony happens is somebody rocks up
thinking, okay, I'm going to come in, I'm going to get a business, make some friends. Suddenly they feel wrapped over the knuckles because they, had a busy week or a chilled week or whatever. That's where I think, that I need a different approach.
I know that came up last week, so maybe not to repeat too much on it, but was that idea of, it's that when you go and visit a networking group, and I guess that's key to it, you visit a group first. You'll get that sense of, are they the mutual relationship kind of focus? Are they the kind of referrals and kind of hard numbers kind of focus? And ultimately, through visiting a few different groups, organizations, network groups, you'll find a group that's right for you. There's plenty of them out there. So if I can maybe ask you, we've talked a bit about your kind of sports background. Can I maybe prod a little bit more on that kind of in your kind of personal life, whether it's kind of habits, rituals, organizations and things that you're part of? Are there elements of that leak into your business life? I guess, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I'm delighted to talk about it. I'll be up to reflect on a little bit as I'm filling space here and thinking. But yeah, look, I guess there are. I'm definitely, I wouldn't have thought of myself this when I was younger, but as you get older and you start to learn about yourself a little more, I'm definitely, a creature of consistency in certain ways. If I do something in a regimented way, I'll to continue. And that goes for work as much as it does for, going to the gym or anything like that. I would certainly be the type that if I was to miss a few sessions, I'd be sure I'll start on Monday mindset, and then Monday becomes April, which becomes 2025 or whatever. And that was that's too close to home, Robert. Yeah. So for me, it's a case of sort of consistency, and that works. And I'd be the same in day-to-day work. Those kind of habits. Are they born of learning about myself or being in a team environment? Maybe a little bit of both. I guess the guys in work would probably be, if they're hearing this, having a good laugh, because I do take a lot of the stuff that I've been part of in a team or sports culture and tried to bring in the office. Again, as they work for me, other people might think, what the hell? But in my space, having meetings and goals and interaction points are really good ways to get where you're looking to do. And for God's sake, I've got a book which I call the playbook, and it's got all the bits and pieces and notes about how we're doing our business. So I wouldn't take a lot of that sort of stuff from a sporting environment and try to apply it to the business.
Yeah, like I would have a bit of a similar approach, but my background isn't rugby. My background in that sense was Scouts. I was involved in Scouts all through my youth. Spent most of my adulthood kind of volunteering as a leader. Took a step back last year because we had a baby and time just wasn't there. I'm sure I'll get dragged back in when he's of age as well. But I definitely reflect on that, I definitely sympathize with that. I know, for example, I kind of second half of last year, we're running a kind of market session with a client, and these were, not to give away too much, but they were, I guess, clients that were a bit more manly men who that they wouldn't take a kind of any approach that they thought was nonsensical or kind of a little bit loose. Everything needed to be kind of like by the hooks, by the line. Everything needed to be straight and make sense. What they didn't know or realize, they had no reason to realize, a lot of the kind of brainstorming and kind of thought process stuff that we did with them came directly from this kind of scouting playbook of like how we kind of draw ideas out of a group and how we kind of build and discuss on them. It was just modernized, and it was done over apps and their computers and everything, and they didn't see it that way, and while I'm not quite at that stage myself, I do fear a day when my staff start to laugh at me for it's another bleeding scout thing. Maybe there's an element of that, sure, another rugby thing up the sleeve at the moment. Okay, so on a kind of similar note, how do you, and hopefully this isn't too prodding of a question, but how do you manage stress and maintain kind of a healthy lifestyle as an entrepreneur?
Badly. So, how do I manage stress? For me, it's always been having to go to people. And I guess, I'm starting to paint a pretty clear picture about myself. But I've been blessed to have good people around me. Blessed to have a significant other who's very caring, to have somebody who you can just dump and vent with, I've had a lot of people over the years, and it's something I would, it probably leads on from the theme of networking, because you have experienced this, but, if you could have even one or two other good people in your life who be like friends or through business or through scouts or sports club, someone who, maybe who they've been down that road before you, and can offer a few nuggets or pearls. There's people out there who want to listen and want to help. There's a lot of really good people in this world. And I guess for me, talking about stress, and, we're talking about proper stress here, the big stresses in the world, that'd be my go-to. Find somebody else who will listen to your SH1T and over stress.
Good. Okay, so let's pivot a little bit again, something slightly a bit more positive. And I know, look, you've had a relatively long career, so feel free to take anywhere, whether it be somewhere near the start, somewhere in most recent years. But can you pinpoint what might be either the most rewarding or one of the more rewarding moments in your career?
Business career.
Yes.
Okay. So hard. And what has been rewarding? Building back, yeah, it's painful as hell at the time, but to be knocked out, to be on the absolute edge of losing everything, and I had a lot of good friends in the sort of recession years who maybe were smarter and changed industry, or reskilled themselves and went down a new career. They shut up shop, and some with not as positive stories, but I guess to have been able to survive that, look at other directions by way of staying afloat, learn the hard way about things that need to be done in the business, script and save, all of those kind of hard work things, and then to be able to look at it now with the element of time and sort of feel, wow, that was rough, and then look at where things are, hopefully have dug enough foundations or have enough plates spinning that it's a lot more robust. And I suppose the proof of the pudding of that was COVID. Like, for a lot of people, it was another shakedown, and we had diversified quite a bit by then. And lettings management is an incredibly strong part of our business to this day, and we adapted really quite quickly, and we made ourselves very, very available under the legislation at the time to help landlords out. We were really sharp with what one of the changes in the legislation were. We also started using available technology, video, Matterports, and in fairness, most estate agents went down that road. I think the industry adapted quite well, but we really sort of drove into that. We got very, very active on social media, and our management book trebled in that time. And I think that just came down to saying to people, look, we're going to go that road with you. So we developed a lot of really strong relationships, and that we still have, thank God. And the lettings management side of the business, grew to on par with, then outstripped the sales side. And despite the shakedown that COVID was, we managed to keep the house standing, keep all the team, employed, and everything moving forward. So we came out of it, certainly in some sides of the business stronger than we went in. So I think that's kind of a testament to the real pain of what had happened sort of 10 years.
I don't know, it might apply back to your kind of rugby career and stuff as well.
We weren't talking about that.
We weren't talking. Yeah. But there definitely is, whether it's personal life or professional life, that element of adversity that is weathered through is a success to be looked back upon. And obviously we talk about COVID, we could talk about the 2008, 2009 kind of recession. And even in your personal life, it could be, that rugby game that you were 2 tries behind at half time and kind of came and kind of overcame the obstacles. I've always remembered that. I remember my dad kind of saying to me regularly enough, kind of when we were younger, that, these times when you were kind of rained out and you were miserable trying to get back to the car or whatever like that, I was like, admirable. That's a story though, It's always the little bits of where you've had to face something tough, where you really remember that moment. You remember that moment as, but there was that victory at the end where we actually crossed the finish line, or we did, whatever. Okay, so we're kind of getting closer to the end here, Robert. So can I ask you, it's a bit of a broad question, but can I ask you if there is one piece of advice that you were to give to somebody starting off as an entrepreneur, what might it be?
One bit of advice. It's actually one bit of it.
You can give me 1 or 2 if you want.
1 or 2. Yeah. Okay. Well, again, I probably simple sounding, but team and people, it is a huge one. And to elaborate, network, those people around you, those relationships you have, it's now become one of our USPs in the business. We're building relationships. We don't pretend to be on, a market giant across the island, but we do know we're growing very, very fast, and we do like to make sure that everybody who comes with us on that journey, we would build very, very strong relationships, and that's both internally, the people on the team, and then those clients who've been with us all the way along. So building those relationships, that example kicks out then into your network, because it's all those sort of rings of relationships, right? Isn't it? Yeah. And I think if you value and cherish those, you're going to be in a good place. The reason I asked you if there was more than one, the other one would be, know yourself, know what you're good at, know what you like. For me, one of the biggest learning curves of that time was trying to do everything and being a busy fool. And I guess, anybody in a small business, entrepreneurial with a small e, but trying to grow, you can be found guilty of doing your own marketing, doing your, and every sector of that business and everything you read about it, you sort of feel you're never doing enough, doing your own accounting. And when you step back, you realize, I hate all of those things, and the actual business you should be doing is probably getting 10% of your attention. So your expectations of growth are probably out of whack, because even though you're busy spending on a whole pile of stuff that's not actually moving you in the right direction. I think as quick as you can in some way to be able to delegate that or share that load, or find somebody who loves that stuff that you hate, and allow yourself the freedom then to focus on the stuff you like and you're good at.
I know there's a famous quote, I can't remember for the life of me who it's attributed to, where it's, you hire people who are better than you. And it doesn't mean that they're better than you in every single way, but especially, as you said, when you're kind of starting a business, you do a bit of everything. You do the marketing, you do the account, you do everything. And when you're hiring somebody, if they're the writer, the marketing person, there is no shame in hiring somebody who is going to be better at all that stuff than you. You are best at leading the business, at driving forward what is your enterprise. and it's about hiring the best possible people to do that job. I think sometimes that can be a scary thing to, especially when maybe you are an entrepreneur by yourself, maybe for the first couple of years, and you've got a good sense of how a lot of these different pieces of the pie work, that then to bring somebody in who maybe potentially is a lot younger than you as well, and to kind of have the pride to step back and say, it's okay that this guy knows more than me. That's a job to know more than me in this specific area. Okay, so we're kind of wrapping up a little bit here. If you can speak, I don't want you to be giving away any trade secrets or anything like that now, but Ireland, is there anything coming up in the future for yourself, for the business, that you can or that you'd like to talk about?
Anything coming up? Not specifically, I suppose. Certainly nothing to announce in that way. But there's no huge secret about what it is we're trying to do. You know, I said we have a set amount of sales or learnings or managements that we've targeted. We see those being better than last year, or we see next year as being better at those. And really, I guess the focus is on how we can be more effective in all of those different areas, you know. So probably not the most exciting answer in the entire world. As you pointed out, we do have a lot of growth happening in overseas property. That's an exciting place. It's definitely not the front and center of the business, but it's something we've had good success with, and it's again year on year growing. So it's about finding our place in that. We're focusing specifically on areas where we've knowledge and strength with the sort of UK and Irish market, south of Portugal, parts of Spain, down Malaga, that kind of way, and even a few connections down South Africa. So we're trying to really focus in on that, where we could get a lot of appetite and connection with Irish people who are buying and selling in those spaces. And our experience so far is they find a huge amount of the Irish market finds a huge amount of relief to be able to come to somebody who can translate. And I don't even mean language wise, but be able to translate. Okay, well, over here we do it this way, over there they do it that way, and probably make that process a lot less complex than what it might feel, to help them get to the goal of buying or selling a property. So it's a learning area. It's an exciting area, good excuse to pop and play every so often.
I'm never jealous when I see it. Okay, very last question. So, and something a little bit lighter, something again that comes from my scout background. We'd always do this at the end of a camp or a year or something. So I'm going to ask you, for the last year, I just want one high moment and one low moment from your last year.
So you're going to ask me to tie some ropes or something like that. I was going to run for the door. Highs and lows from the last year. We're going professionally again.
We're going professionally.
We're going professionally again. Gee, really, you've kind of hit me on the onto my heels with that one. Highs. At the end of the year, we all went out as a team and celebrated. It probably sounds quite like a small high. We did a lot of good. We had a lot of good sales, and we broke new ground in terms of the numbers we did. But I suppose to be out with the guys and celebrating that as a group, for me that was a real high. Hopefully they felt the same way. Lows. I finished on a low one. What was the low?
I should probably structure this better to not have you finishing on a low. But here we are.
What's the low? The low is that we are not yet dominating the the property market. So maybe this year.
Oh, great.
Silly answer.
Thank you very much, Robert Forbes of Forbes Boyle Property. It's been great to have you here. Been a great chat. I'm sure hopefully people watching this will have learned a lot. There's a lot to learn from yourself. So again, thank you very much for taking the time, coming along. You've been great. Cheers.